Future flavors.
Yo, Pittsburgh, what is the deal? It's your boy DJ Cold Blooded. We're live and direct at 1073, Pittsburgh's #1 home for hip hop and R&B. And you are now tuned into another segment of the Future Flavors show. And I got a very special group here. This group is very primitive and very prolific in the city of Pittsburgh, impacting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people throughout the city for decades and decades and many, many more years to come. I feel very blessed and privileged to do this interview for a multitude of reasons. One, because it's something that's really impactful and really matters. It's something that is truly tangible and affects people, and I love to come across things like this. Also, I know one of the guests in the building. I haven't seen him in the past 10 years, but there's a twist to it. There's a twist to it. It makes it a very special moment. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Action Housing. We have Keith Schmidt in the building. We have Tyasia Pitts in the building, and Brandon Davis.
Hey.
How you guys feeling?
Hey.
We're feeling good.
Excited.
Good on a warm Sunday.
Yeah. It's bipolar weather at the time of this interview.
Yeah.
So just to kick things off, you guys all represent Action Housing, correct?
Yes.
In some way, shape, or form, that's true.
Yes.
That's right.
Some way, shape, or form, that's true. Okay. So what exactly is Action Housing, for those who don't know?
Action Housing is, first of all, it's a wonderful organization, and Pittsburghers are really lucky, and even the people in the region are lucky to have a nonprofit like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's something, quite frankly, you take for granted because it's been doing such great work for so long that you think every urban city in America has an Action Housing, and they don't. So all the more reason why we're really stoked that you were willing to talk about this today, because it's kind of a best kept secret, but we want to kind of shout from the rooftops right now on a couple things that they do that's really important. Mm-hmm. It started back in 65 years ago.
Wow.
Very powerful Democratic mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, Mayor Lawrence,
Like
David Lawrence, who then ended up becoming governor also.
Oh, wow.
But he was the one that gave us the Point State Park and the Triangle. Not the convention center. That was after his time. But he reshaped Pittsburgh into just a very dirty mill town into the urban center that it was. It also had mills, but they worked on the riverfront, worked on the north side. Literally was transformed this region under his leadership, and he worked with a philanthropist called Richard King Mellon, and everybody knows the Mellon Foundation and Mellon Bank. It's not even around anymore; it's called something else. Right. But we all knew about Mellon Bank if you're a Pittsburgher.
So would this be like Carnegie Mellon's great grandson?
Well, yeah, there's
like
the Mellons are the Mellons. They're all related.
Right.
I don't know if I can tell you what lineage or how that works, but you're right, and they're still giving literally tens of millions of dollars into the region through different causes and foundations to this date. But the two of them got together along with civic leaders and said, listen, we got a great blue-collar town here. We have a great workforce. But the closer you get to urban America, the harder it is for people to afford housing. And we need to address this. If we want to keep people in Pittsburgh, we want to be vibrant, we need to help these people that are having a hard time and are on the economic margins of life. And that's how they started. And it expanded. I took some notes to make sure I have my cheat sheet here. People with economic challenges, special needs, seniors, veterans, individuals on the autism spectrum, physical and intellectual disabilities. And then around, 13 years ago in 2009, the executive director of Larry Swanson, a dear friend of mine who's been with Action over 40 years, probably like 43 or 45. He's been the executive director for a number of years. He was at some program in town in 08 or 09 when he learned that at 18 you're done in foster care and you're given a bus ticket and a bag. All you wear is a bag, and you said good luck. I mean, it's like, you talk about brutal, but it's the truth. That's what it was. And he said, this can't be. And he went back and asked his chief staff and his senior staff, look into this, and they came back and said, Larry, there's nothing. There's no federal program, there's the state program. So he took it upon himself with his team to work with the Department of Human Services in Allegheny County to put a program together. And it transformed people's lives that were 18 to 24 that had nowhere to go, no help for housing or affordable housing or education training or job placement or on and on and on and on. And these good folks are going to talk a lot more about the specifics of that. And now we're probably, have over 1,000 people gone through this program. Is that correct?
Over 1,000.
And you can talk more about that because you're in the program and you're actually an employee of the program, Brandon.
Yeah, so I'm currently the Action Housing Community Space Coordinator, and what that means is that I am the one that has to reach out to over 1,000 former alumni of the My Place program specifically. Action Housing has a lot of programs, but the program that we're talking about is coming out of the My Place program, which is for homeless foster care youth. And those individuals have come through the program, they've been housed, they've learned life skills, they've learned economical skills to the point where they are not to be homeless again.
Right.
However, them being adults, they have endeavors, they have aspirations that they want to accomplish. Some have started businesses like Tyasia, some want to start businesses, and the reality is some of them still need help, still need resources and assistance. And that is why Action Housing has formed the Alumni Association, which is where we come into play. We are reaching out to these individuals, making sure that they have a home and a hub of resources that they could come back to, just like any school would. Have an alumni association. Action Housing, My Place program, now has an alumni association, and we're empowering these young adults to accomplish their goals. That's basically the idea in a nutshell. Of course, there's a lot of specifics, but that's the whole gambit of it.
Okay, so, well, you guys touched on a lot just now. Well, one thing I want to double back on with Keith that resonated with me. You talked about taking care of special needs people, and I think that's one of the things that not a lot of people consider, the disposition of people like that have special needs, that have certain things that need to be met. Like me personally, I have a twin brother who has special needs, and if it wasn't for, let's say, me being here, or more importantly, our mom, that raises a bunch of questions and eyebrows as to where do you get the care? Let's say, God forbid, like the worst were to happen and someone in that position does end up homeless. Like what are some of the hurdles you might run into with that avenue?
Well, it's just really, and this is we're overcoming that hurdle today. It's informing people that such an organization exists, and that there are options. I too, I'm the last of 7 children, and I have a brother that has some needs, and is getting older, and we're worried about his finances and his ability to have a roof over his head, and as his physical and mental needs continue to progress, where does he go? And lo and behold, I thought that he would not be eligible based on the severity of what he had. It wasn't that severe, but didn't allow him to work. I mean, he has a situation where steady employment is not realistic, and I'm almost 30 years deep here. Why didn't I turn to Action Housing? And I brought up in a conversation with some of the people at Action Housing, I said, there's a program there. There's a program for everybody. Let us figure it out. And sure enough, we're looking at a place now in the West Hills of Allegheny County that might just accommodate them, and it's wonderful. But also the situation is, a lot of people think when you get to people on the margins of life or special needs or anything, everybody thinks the only answer is government, and if government doesn't have a program, then there is no program.
Right.
Well, there's public-private partnerships, and there's places like Action Housing, which is almost a pseudo-government agency. A lot of their funding comes from the good people, taxpayers and others at every level. We get state money, federal money, local money. But it is its own nonprofit. It doesn't show a profit. Nobody gets residuals or anything. Everything we get from foundations and taxpayers go right back into programs, 100%. And no one gets rich working there. I mean, they make a fair living, but everybody, it's a calling, really. So what I encourage people is, they have case managers. You're not gonna get somebody that you're gonna leave a message and not get a response, or in most cases you actually talk to a live person. They want to hear your situation, and they'll meet your needs to a program somewhere in Allegheny County that can help you out. And again, it's wonderful, but it's one of those things where there's so many things in my life of nearly 60 years that it's only when I travel that I appreciate Pittsburgh, because I always think that the things that happen in Pittsburgh happen everywhere, and then I realize that's just not the case. And we are uniquely special in a lot of ways, and one of them are we take care of our own. We take care of the people on the margins of life, and nobody does it better than Action Housing.
Yeah, I have to agree, and I'm just coming from a place of a person who went through Action Housing. I went, as you heard, they support many different avenues, but one of them is also homeless people coming out of CYF. So I know for me, at the age, I went into the system at the age of 13, and when I was 13, due to passing my mom, I went to every single foster home, group home, every single group home. And when I turned 18, I was kicked out of the group home, and I had nowhere to go. So Action Housing, despite my record and what the system had to say with behavior issues, they gave me an opportunity. They took me in. I was placed. I was housed. I was able to finish my last year of high school because I thought I was going to have to fail. They literally was with me each step. They believed in me. They are really adamant on making sure that each person in the program win. I was able to circle back around, as you heard about the Alumni Center, years down the line. After I went into there 18, I probably was done 21, and 25 I was able to come back to them about a program that I wanted to start, the foster home. I have a foster home called a Dream House that will be launching sometime next year, and I was able to get help. I didn't know how to start a program. I didn't know how to do anything, but I was able to come back to Action Housing with my program, my ideas, and say, hey, this is what I want to do. And they made sure, they pointed me to Brandon with the Alumni Center, and they made sure that everything that I envisioned and that I wanted to come to fruition happened. So not only when I was 18, making sure I had somewhere to stay with being homeless, but then coming back at 25 and saying, hey, this is what I want to do. These are my dreams. And mind you, these are things that I had even talked about with being in a program, but they believed in me. And then I came back and it's happening. So they are really like genuine with they are really genuine with everything that they do, with making sure everyone wins and supporting. So
really early on, right, when you found Action Housing, I don't know if somebody told you about them and you went over there, and you talked about a story where for the first time people actually asked and valued your opinion, and what a big deal that was. That like no one ever asked me like what I thought, and what that meant to a person, a young adult at that age, that they're actually trying to make it fit for what works for you, not what works for them.
Right.
If you can expand upon those opening days with Action Housing, and how did it make you feel, and what made you be so aggressive in pursuing the programs that you did and taking full advantage of it like you did.
Well, yeah, so one story is Miss Sharon. She is the director of the My Place program. So like I stated, am a person who went into the system at 13, and I went to every single group home in and out of the county. And in all of the group homes that I've been in, no one ever asked me, Tyasia, what do you see yourself doing? What do you want to, do with your life? No one ever asked me that. So I never knew what I wanted to do. I never knew a purpose. I never knew value for myself on what, I could bring to the table. I just thought, I'm just a girl who's just in the system and just got all these.
I can imagine it gets, it's easy for people to just become like facsimiles of each other and really just not have like I don't want to say specifically for you, but maybe like a sense of identity.
Right.
That's the right way.
Right.
Like something to attach yourself to and really get, uplifted.
Right, and then they have like referrals. So with me having behavior issues, everything about me was on paper, but it was all behaviors. It was like, oh, she's this, she's that, but no one ever took time to know Tyasia what's behind the pain. They only seen what was on paper. So when I went to Action Housing, Miss Sharon, we sat down and she's like, Tyasia, what do you see yourself doing? She asked me questions that had me thinking thinking outside of the box rather than what's on paper, people probably judging me and all of those things. But what do Tyasia want to do? So she sat down with me. What is your vision? What do you see yourself doing? And that's when I was able to tell her. It took me a minute because I didn't know during that time. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I can't even finish 12th grade. I don't know. But then I was able to come to her during the time of my 12th grade. At the end of my 12th grade year when I was graduating, I was able to come back to her in her office, and I thought about it. And I came to her. I said, Miss Sharon, you asked me a very important question. I did not know during that time what I wanted to do. And I was able to come back to her and tell her, I know what my purpose is, and I know what I want to do. I want to open up a foster home for girls who was in this system because I knew what I experienced in this system, and I don't want other people to go through that. I want to be able to come and make an impact and a change, and she believed in it. And again, I was able to come back 4 or 5 years later and tell her everything on the paper. Like, Miss Sharon, you remember that question you asked me? Here it go. I got the plan. I got the business plan. Can you help me? And that's what Action Housing is about.
I would actually like to be direct. and highlight what she said. What she said was that Action Housing and the My Place program established a relationship with her
Yeah.
in her adolescence, as they've done with many other people in their adolescence. Whereas we think about kids and we think about teenagers, and a lot of teachers, a lot of mentors write you off while you're bumping your head in the whole thing of life. Action Housing takes the time to build that relationship with you and pour into you and make sure that you flourish, which again, it just brings us right back to where we are now, which is the Alumni Center.
Yeah.
We have gone through the My Place program. We've bumped our heads, we've done the life thing, we've went to college, we've had kids, we've started businesses, and then we have a lot of ideas that probably didn't come to fruition. So again, that's what the Alumni Center is for. We're supporting each other, bringing it back to where it started, which is Action Housing's My Place program, and we're just adding on to the work that My Place is already doing.
Were you part of the program as a teen, just like Tyasia was?
I was, and I was a foster care youth, and me and my sister was fostered by my aunt. And that's where our caseworker gave me the application to be a MLDI. But also, literally, while I was in school at Penn State, I was looking for a place to stay, and I got the referral to Action Housing's My Place program. I went down, I met with Miss Sharon, and the rest is history. Like, that brings us here. And even, as I said earlier, just calling Miss Sharon with my own idea. My own idea, me being a member of the 100 Black Men, I had an idea with them. And the only person I thought of to make this happen was Miss Sharon Langford, the director of the My Place program at Action Housing. So when I called her, she said, "Oh, I literally just said your name. I literally just said your name." And I was talking about the Alumni Center, and here we are. I'm employed with the Action Housing My Place Alumni Center, and we're taking everything that we talked about. We're taking everything, all the work that they've done, and we're producing fruit. Just Thursday, not for nothing, we had a conversation with one of our alumni. His name is Jay Bakari, and he needs a little guidance. He wants to figure out what he wants to do. He's a music artist. He's a singer and a rapper, but he's also into holistic things. We had a conversation with him to get to know him, because we are also building that relationship. We're not just showing up to work.
Right.
We're not just doing, what sounds good on paper, what sounds good for grants. No, we're building relationships and we're expanding. The Alumni Center is a hub of resources for alumni, ran by alumni.
Like Brent.
Exactly.
So how does it feel for you two? Keith, we're going to dive into your story too. You two to go to step into a program, take full advantage and benefit of it for the better, and come out with your own ideas on foundation, foster home, alumni center, and a lot of people, even who are said to have, let's say, more privileged situations, it seems like nowadays a lot of people are searching for that position to provide for other people. You see a lot of, let's say, our favorite artists or businessmen and women, they venture into, let's say, a company or some type of organization in hopes to some point come out with something of their own, whether it's a seat at the table, whether it's their own thing, a partnership, whatever. But you guys have literally done that within, I want to say, like a short period of time. And it didn't seem like it was, I'm not going to say difficult, but it didn't seem like there were too many barriers. Like, it seemed like it was kind of meant for you guys to be in this position. So how does that feel for you guys to do that, to be so resilient and be like the faces of what you all didn't have and what you guys wanted to have, what you guys felt like you needed, but now you get to provide for everybody else?
I feel blessed because it makes me go back and say that everything that I have been through in life was for a reason. Even though during that time I couldn't understand a lot of the things that I had been through, and I probably was like, oh my goodness, why is this happening to me? to now be in position to be able to be a better support and pour into the individuals who are going through what I have been through, and to be able to give back and be that face or that person to be like, you know what, despite that you are going through this right now, you can overcome it. You can do it, because if I can do it, you can do it. You know, I'm not better than anybody. So I know that if I was able to achieve all the barriers that was thrown at me in life, and I was able to overcome it, you can do it. So I'm blessed to be in position to be able to pour back and show just everybody that despite what life throws at you, you can achieve it. You can overcome it. So I'm blessed.
I would have to say the same. Blessed and fortunate, because there are a lot of barriers, there are a lot of challenges, and if you look at it for face value, it can seem unfair. Like, I'm sure a lot of the alumni would say it's unfair to start off in life and you simply don't even have a place to stay. You know, not having a place to stay to owning your own business, or not having a place to stay to becoming a doctor. Mm-hmm. We have doctors in our alumni association, and that is more of a flex, because we all start out the mud, literally, like quite literally. So it's rewarding, it's fortunate, and it's a blessing, because to see your fight pay off, that's the most important thing. Because unfortunately, dealing with the alumni association, there are people that were in my place and they are not present here today because of circumstances. So everybody that's showing up here, everybody that's showing up right now is blessed, and they shouldn't take our opportunity for granted. The fact that we're sitting here, the fact that we went to a donors breakfast, the fact that on Thursday we were all sitting in a very office that we were sitting in before as participants, now as adults and employees, that is not for nothing. That is not a mistake. It's a fight, and everybody showing up with the Alumni Association are winners and the victors of that fight, and that cannot be taken for granted.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the fact that although Action Housing, 65 years old, and has done great work, you know, there was always a question at first in my mind when that happened 13 years ago, that story I told about their executive director, Larry Swanson, you know, how did he see the fit there? I mean, foster care, why does foster care have to do with the work of Action Housing? What he knew from the beginning, and what I came to learn, is nothing happens in any program, in any social program, or anybody that has a need in life without first having secure and safe housing. That's where it begins. You can have everything else going right. If that's not going right, you're in trouble. Right. And back to you, Brandon. I mean, I told my Tyasia story, but the story I remember about Brandon is something that you take, again, one of those things you just take for granted in life. You were talking about being at Penn State, and a break's coming up, and everybody's going home, going to this, and he literally came, the realization, I have nowhere to go. I have nowhere to go.
Did they offer, like, for you to stay on campus during breaks?
So the answer to that is yes. Yes, because we have a college program that is headed by
Action Housing did it.
Action Housing, yeah.
Penn State did it.
Penn State, oh no, Penn State did not.
Really?
Penn State did not. No.
Oh, wow, okay, all right. Please continue. I'm interested.
No.
I'm interested because the breaks will come up for me, and I would have the place to go, but in my situation, I didn't want to go home. I wanted to, like, stay away from, like, the old and, like, stuff I was going through mentally. So that's why I would stay. Right. To have my own safe haven. So I thought that was a thing that schools just offered.
Penn State did not. And mind you, I went to Penn State Greater Allegheny, so I stayed in the
Keysport.
Keysport.
Okay.
Who knows it well.
There you go. So, interesting, just like Keith said, for a kid that has won that fight of finding housing, getting to the position of being accepted into college, because we're talking about people that are very young in life. These are not adults that are fighting this fight. They are now, but at the time of becoming My Place participants, everybody's still in care, so to speak. So, you know, when the summer comes, everybody's looking forward to the summer. Your friends are all looking toward the summer, and anxiety is building in you because you don't know what you're doing for the summer. So Action Housing has a college program where they will give you an apartment. They will house you, and while you're off, whether you're away or, you know, at home here in the city, you have a place to stay. So you could go off and you could take that anxiety away. You could focus on your work and not hinder yourself by having something as heavy of a weight as that, laying on you. Now the interesting thing about that is, along with housing, they also offer scholarships. We have the Tyasia Gold Scholarship. They give you access to and information about Chafee. A lot of the things that you just would not know. A lot of the things that you won't know, and nobody's going to talk about it. But it's a big opportunity, even then, just being in the program and being around this information where you can go and fill out a FAFSA. I filled out my FAFSA in a project from the case managers, a skills group from the case managers that they put together. I didn't know anything about FAFSA. I was just fighting to get into school.
So this is a question that I should have probably asked in the beginning, but this is a great conversation. So, where are you all from originally?
Ladies first.
I'm from Pittsburgh. It's kind
We're
of
specific.
well. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's kind of hard to say specifically because I moved around so much as a kid. So it's like it was never stability in my life to be like, oh, where are you from? It was never nowhere I was at long term.
Okay.
So I just say Pittsburgh.
Also, my apologies if this is the right word, a redundant question.
Oh no. No, but and again, Tyasia's point of view is relevant to a lot of our alumni, especially when alumni come here from out of state. And they just managed to get a bus ticket and they showed up here.
So it doesn't have to be people specifically like from this area. It's open to everybody.
Well, the Action Housing has become such a force that there's different criteria that applies to an array of different people.
Right.
So there's multiple programs. If you're not in one program, you might be a better fit for another.
Right.
That's kind of the best way I can answer that, because you would have to pick, literally you would have to pick the individual and then answer that question. So, and for me, I'm from the Mon Valley, I'm from Duquesne.
Okay.
So, I'm a Valley kid.
I'm a West Hills guy, Montour School District, kind of Robinson, Kennedy. My late parents were born and raised in Westview in the North Hills and moved in the West Hills when it was farm country in 1950 and raised 7 kids. And I'm very blessed. I understand the importance of a network and family. I have 58 nieces and nephews and great nieces and nephews, almost all of them living in this region. And I'm humbled, and I have a great appreciation for the American dream that was provided for us, and really what obstacles were put in front of these young men and women, that the American dream was out of reach for them. And it's, it's one of those things where America is defined differently than any other freedom-loving country in the world, because we value home ownership, your own apartment, your own place, your independence, your ability to make your own decisions and be an entrepreneur. And when those obstacles are put in front of people, and that is that they don't have an equal bearing or a level playing field to go after that American dream, it's the duty of all of us that have come before them and have that opportunity because of different circumstances to at least bring them to an equal footing. And then what they do with those opportunities, they do with them. But it goes beyond this craziness in the world of the various coalitions that are at odds and the various political parties, and it's a very tense time in America. But I can tell you we can all agree on this. This is one of those things. It doesn't matter. There's no color or creed or race or economic disposition. The ability to have a place to live and an opportunity to pursue your dreams. If we can all give back to that, there's common ground there. That's why I'm involved. That's why I've had some relationship with Action Housing for 30 years. Because I'm involved with a lot of controversial stuff too, that people take hard opinions, and it gets tiring sometimes. Sometimes you want to be in a room where you just want to move the ball forward together. And no matter what meeting I've been in Action Housing or the good people in my place or the alumni program, it's all about how can we make it better? How can we help our friends that are gathering in this room and the people that are going to be knocking at our door tomorrow? And it's not contentious. It's not, there's not a competition other than wanting to make this region better and give these people some opportunities, and it's working, guys. It's working, but we need help. We need financial help. So, you know, look up the My Place program, the Alumni Center. Look up Action Housing, and if you could carve out some money to a charity every year, if you could take a small piece of that, I can tell you it will be put to good use at Action Housing, and you could specifically put in the memo section My Place or My Place Alumni Center, and they'll make sure that that money is specifically earmarked for these young people 18 to 24 looking for this help.
So before we get up out of here, one of the things that made this interview very special and relevant to me was seeing Brandon. I haven't seen Brandon in like 10 years. I remember he had like a buzz cut. He was like real skinny. And when the program that he touched on earlier was a BMODI, Black Male Leadership Development Institute. It's for kids who, I want to say, need some guidance, right? So at the time, they would take 80 of us from all across the area, and we would stay up on campus at Robert Morris for about a week, and we listened to several keynote speakers. In Moon, yes.
Okay.
We listened to several keynote speakers. We listened to several people that write plays, own businesses, people from all over. But for me, it was the first time I've ever seen black men in suits, not going to jail, not going to court, or not, like, you know, just not in a negative light. So it really piqued my interest, and a lot of the people that I came across in the program, we all somehow reconnect, like, as time goes on, whether it be I went to Robert Morris and I see some of them as part of the faculty, or I see people making music and now I'm the guy on the radio, or if it's just casual walking down the street, bro, do you remember me? Yeah, and then, you know, we're able to connect. So I would say at the time, y'all, well, I'm not gonna say at the time, but y'all were like the coolest people on earth to me. Like, I've never met like young black dudes in college that didn't go there just because they played a sport. Like, you guys, most of you guys went there because you guys were smart, and you guys reached back to the youth while still in school, even facing the trials and tribulations that you guys did. Because I didn't know none of that about you until today. So to think back and think, like, you know, like, wow, like, this guy went through all of this, and then double back on us, and then still, like, you're still doing it. I want to say, I don't know if you heard enough, but thank you so much for what you are doing for people. You never know what you do, never know what you do does for somebody else. I think that applies to everybody. Yeah. And I want to say thank you guys for showing up. This is great.
We really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I didn't know none of this was available to anybody. I didn't even think a lot of this stuff went on for people. I think it's really, unfortunately, to some people, or even the vast majority, like an afterthought, and it really shouldn't be. I think it should be more prominent in news outlets and more known, because, you know, when you think of, at least for me and my friends, you think of someone who's down on their luck, the only thing you think of is like Section 8 and a homeless shelter. You don't think of anything that could be rehabilitative or help set you up to reach that next level on your own or teach you independence. So I think what you guys are doing is very, very important.
Thank you. No, thank you.
And before we get up out of here, where can people tune in? Where can they get involved? Where can they guys follow you on social media for your handles if you guys do anything else?
For the My Place Alumni Association, we are actually having our open house, our second open house, November 5th at 3 o'clock. And if you were a participant in the My Place program, you call 412-248-8001. That's 412-248-8001. And get in contact, and we can send you that information. Other things that I do, I'm a part of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, the Iota Phi chapter. The Iota Phi Foundation right now has a cross-cultural camp between Latin and Latinx kids, and of course African American kids. We are having a haunted house that's coming up. So if you go and Google Iota Phi Foundation, you'll find that. I'm also a member of the 100 Black Men of Western PA. We have a weekly Saturday Academy, and you can find that online at 100 Black Men Western PA.
You said Omega
Psi Phi.
That's a Q, right?
That's a Q.
That's a Q. Really? You're a Q?
Yes, sir.
Bro?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I thought
a lot of things change.
Yeah, I thought you would have been a Sigma.
Oh no, that's Armani's deal. Shout out to Armani, Dr. Armani Davis.
Yeah, I'll say that's one of my regrets in college, not being part of Divine Nine. But please continue.
Well, I will second the alumni open house. I would say come out and support that.
Mhm.
For me personally, if you want to support a dream house, which is a foster home for kids and youth in the system, you can follow our page at a dream house on Facebook. You can also follow me on Facebook, Tyasia Pitts. I'm also a life coach where I do my coaching services with Action Housing. But if you have any youth or young adults who need services, please feel free to also contact me on my Facebook. And that's it.
I have one more thing. For the 100 Black Men Saturday Academy, if you have children that want to be involved in that, it's completely free. We teach everything in our core 4, that's health and wellness, economic empowerment, scholarship and education, and we also have pure leadership. You could call 412-608-5149. That's 412-608-5149. That's the 100 Black Men of Western PA.
The best way to reach me is I have obviously I'm on Facebook. I've spent 42 years in the region in government and politics. The last 15, I'd say, since '07. My firm's called Bridge Connections. It's a public relations consulting company, crisis management, business development, do some nonprofit stuff. It's a wide variety of clients, but I'm really a connector. I put people together to move the agenda forward. And the company's called Bridge Connections. I'm the president. Keith Schmidt 520@gmail.com is my email. The other one is keith@bridge-connections.com. I look at both of those. And my cell is 412-576-2913. And I look forward to continuing this conversation.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Action Housing.